Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews, my channel where I review my favorite retro video games of all time, as well as some modern releases I have recently finished. Today I've got some more news. This is a few days old at this point, but it was so idiotic and so blatantly stupid that I just had to cover it. I talk about emulation on this channel a lot and how much I love emulating old video games and how I see the value in game preservation. But today I want to talk about somebody that is not worried about preservation, that is just simply a pirate in the worst sense of the word. This is EveryGameGuru, who is currently being sued by Nintendo to the tune of $7.5 million for streaming pirated versions of Nintendo Switch games weeks in advance, including the most recently, like with Mario and Luigi Brothership. And the weirdest thing here is this person not only has not made like any effort to conceal their identity, having their face on some of their streams. They were streaming to like 14 people for the Mario and Luigi game, which is just not a good return. You're not getting a lot of viewership. You're not getting any return from making these things because they go against terms of service on platforms like YouTube or Twitch. And then, of course, Nintendo's going to hunt them down and go after them really hard. Now, this isn't... I'm absolutely on Nintendo's side this time, which is something that I did not expect to say anytime soon. They have been very much against emulation in almost every regard, and I go after them for that because they absolutely deserve the criticism. But right here, it makes complete sense, and I think they're completely within their rights and should be going after people like this. Now, what I understand about this is this has been happening for a couple of years now, according to the lawsuit. This person has been contacted by Nintendo on multiple occasions. They have been contacted with like takedown notices, copyright, everything. They have been warned over and over and over again. This isn't just Nintendo going after this person and immediately slapping them with a huge lawsuit. They have given them so many chances to not do this, and they have blatantly shown that they don't care and they're going to do it anyway. What's even worse is they're not just streaming these games. They're also putting up, will put up videos on like burner YouTube accounts showing how to download emulators and pirated Switch games for free, which is incredibly illegal. If you're not aware like how emulators work, the way you make an emulator work is you have to have a BIOS file which is specific to your console, or you can get like somebody else's BIOS file that they've uploaded onto the internet, which is very illegal. But if you utilize your own BIOS file, that's completely fine. You paid for the console, it is yours. That's how it should be. You should be uploading your own files, and then like if you have a hacked Switch that you're uploading, that's kind of the way you have to get the BIOS file at this point. You can put your games in, upload digital copies of those games that you have purchased again, and then you can play those on like an emulator, so you can like upscale resolution and stuff like that. I don't personally emulate any modern consoles. If I have the console, I'm just going to play it on the hardware it's meant for. I understand why people do, like if you have a Steam Deck and you're running a Switch emulator, you can upscale a lot of games, make them run much smoother, including new games like Tears of the Kingdom or Echoes of Wisdom that do have some frame rate troubles here and there. And I completely understand why people want to do that. I just don't, because first off, I already have the console, might as well just play it on there. And second off, I'm not nearly as skilled in those areas, so I'm not worried about emulating current gen technology. I can do that later on when this is older stuff and emulators are more accessible and more easy to like put up and everything like that. So I just emulate old games. I love emulating video games, and I'm all about people emulating things legally. And this guy is just proving that some people are just out to be bad, just belligerently awful, and disregarding the law and disregarding other like companies. They like all their posts are like rife with anti-capitalism messages and everything. And that's beside the point. I'm not here to talk about that. But Nintendo has like stated several times that they've been going after this guy, and he's just been deliberately disobeying, disregarding, and now he's being sued for $7.5 million for basically no gain for himself. He's in a whole lot of trouble and should absolutely go down for this. The problem here is that it gives people that do emulate games legally a very bad look. It just makes emulation people look like the bad guys, and that's the biggest problem here. I wish that there was a better way to do this, but I'm happy that this guy is going down, because if you're not aware of how this works, how like these early games get leaked, Nintendo Switch emulator is one of the emulators that's actually pretty easy to run. It's not super hard to set up. It's been running for several years now. If you look at other like current generations or even the generation before with like PlayStation 4, we haven't gotten like great emulators for those consoles yet, because they're more sophisticated hardware. They're more like difficult to emulate and run, especially on modern like computers and everything, it's hard to get those right. But the Switch was fairly easy to crack from what I understand. The emulators have been running for several years now, so they really just know what they're doing. So someone in like a distribution chain, someone like will get a copy of this game, they'll snatch it off of the distribution line, and like, so that they're stealing it weeks in advance, which is very, very much against the law, very much against the rules. You're not even allowed to get like a game from a retail store even like a minute earlier than it's supposed to launch. I lived in a time zone where I was like 2 hours behind. Midnight was my time, so it was like 10 o'clock my time is when I could buy a brand new game. So I went to my GameStop one night. I got the game at 10 p.m. on the dot. They made sure that they were not breaking those rules because they are very tight. So someone will snatch this up to weeks in advance, ahead of time, and they'll upload those games onto the internet with their hacked Switch. They'll upload those files and just say, here you go, you can play these games for free now, which is a very big deal. I can understand why Nintendo is cracking down on these, because the Switch has a big piracy problem. They're getting these games out into the wild very, very early. Tears of the Kingdom apparently was pirated over 1 million times in like the launch week, or even leading up to launch for the game, which is a huge hit to even a game that sells 10, 14 million copies in the launch window is still suffering a million more copies that could have been sold if people weren't pirating them. That's a very substantial thing. So I'm absolutely with Nintendo on this. Pirating games is not okay. Pirating games that are currently in distribution, you need to go buy those. They are being sold because they spent a lot of money making them. That's how it works. Now, we won't get in the weeds about pirating games from like older consoles that are no longer in distribution. But if you want to check out some of my other emulation videos, I do have some thoughts on that. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about this because it's just so ridiculous. I don't think this guy is going to get off at all unless some miracle happens. I think he's in a whole lot of trouble. I don't think he's going to be playing any Nintendo games anytime soon. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.